And a very good evening to everybody, and welcome to one of our Spiritualism Lyceum evenings, coming to you from the Paul Christian Spiritualist Church. This is in a series of evenings where we discuss all things appertaining to the movement of spiritualism. We've got, I say this week in, week out, and I do always mean it. We've got wonderful guests, wonderful people that help us out. We've got a gentleman tonight who I've become very, very fond of over the last 18 months of knowing him online and actually having the privilege of meeting up once in person in Scotland. We have Mr. Frederick Haglin talking to us tonight from his home in Sweden. And Fredrik is a certificate holder with the SNU. He is a CSNU and a teacher. And those little initials represent many, many years of ardent study and work to attain them. Frederick, sir, good evening.
Good evening, Lawrence, and thank you very much for having me here and for the wonderful introduction as well. It's always a pleasure to have a chat with you, and it's always a good laughter and joyful time.
Well, we hope that will continue through the evening. A very good evening to everybody joining us. I see numbers are going up out there. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We do welcome questions throughout the course of the next hour. If you can just type them into the comments box. Little bit of advice, something I didn't realize till the other day. Apparently, comments on my page may not show up on the screen. So if your comment isn't read out, please, you're not being censored. It is just I can't see them. I see we're being joined tonight. Lovely Phil Shaw, Susan Brown. Oh, we have a rogue in from Denmark. We have another Viking. We could end up having an invasion tonight if we get one more. Oh, yes, there we go. There's another Viking just come in the room. Yeah. Oh, and another. There's loads of them.
So, I think there is a lot of Scandinavian people tonight, Lawrence.
Indeed. How wonderful. Yeah. How wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Well, the topic, I get very led by the energies and the thoughts and conditions and what I hear from other people. And tonight I was inspired to bring in this topic of cooperation. Now, it's a pretty broad sword, that word. Yeah, we all cooperate with each other, so everything's lovely. And thank you, everybody, and good night. It's got a lot of levels, Obviously, the one primarily is the cooperation between us as working mediums, be it whatever field, be it our healing mediumship, our philosophy, our trance, physical, evidential, doesn't matter. It's all mediumship. The cooperation that we've got to strive and maintain and build between the two worlds. Frederick, sir, when you first embarked, I know from previous talks that mediumship was part of you from an early age, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. But when we started on that development call, how did you find that process of building that bond between you and those who were with you, the understanding, so that the evidence, the communication can flow? How did you find that process with yourself?
I think it is important for how you have as a teacher, the confidence of the teacher and how they teach you, and also how confident they are within themselves. Because if you have a teacher who don't want your student to grow and don't want no one to become better than the teacher is, then you're totally lost, because you won't have the upbringing, the strength and the power that you need to grow. And I mean, we are all on a different journeys, and to be able to work, you need to have the cooperation as you're talking about, but you also need to have those who believe in the work you are doing. So therefore, if you go back from the beginning, I think when it started, if you're finding a tutor or a teacher, it has to be someone who is not afraid to allow someone else to grow above.
Most definitely. And preferably, though not in all cases, but preferably somebody who's got a demonstrable history to them. Quite often, we've seen instances where people may have had all the best intentions of the world, but lack the actual maybe knowledge, experience to guide and coach people, because those first days when we're getting that link in with spirit, when we're building those bridges, and when we're finding out our own abilities, they can be very perilous days, and it's very, very easy to dash the hopes of somebody, or maybe encourage the more baser instincts of people, the ego, and feeding that. It's a very fine time. You've got to have that discipline with students and within the circle environment as well. The discipline to get the point over without coming over as too oppressive, and also allowing that growth, but just guiding and nudging from the sides. And it is in those I would always say the first 18 months, 2 years, based on my experience of development as a medium, there's a lot going on. I remember my partner at the time dragging me out of the pub, and not for the first time, dragging me out of the pub because Lawrence had one too many sherbets, and this new thing that he'd found in himself started working with people in the pub and giving messages, hand on heart, because it was new, it was wonderful, it was something I wanted to share. And of course the alcohol blurred the edges slightly, and for not being a spiritualist, he gave me the best spiritual advice ever. He said, you only work when you're in circle and when you make a date with spirit, and no other time. And coming from a non-spiritualist, I went, oh, okay. But yeah, the theme of the cooperation. Do you find sometimes, Frederick, with people, their thoughts of the spirit world are not engaging as we are dealing with intelligent beings? We are conversing with people as we are conversing tonight. We are separated by thousands of miles between us, but we can have this conversation. Likewise, with our mediumship, our development, we've got to work to get to this standard and this ability to be able to talk to those who work with us from the life between lives, and have this two-way conversation about things.
I would say most definitely, because if you take a church, for example, where you need to have the cooperation, because when you do a divine service or a service, you have the people who giving out the song sheets, you have the people who are doing the tea room, you have the chairman, and you have the healers. But it's so common, unfortunately, that you see the medium is the medium, the healer is the healer. You don't see the cooperation in between them, because it's we and them. And even so, if the healers do an amazingly good job, it's still the medium who get all the credit for the service. But if not everyone was there together, there wouldn't be any service. So therefore, you need to have the basics, cooperation, and the foundation, and having an understand the equal importance of each and every one as well. It doesn't matter if you are the best medium in the world if you don't have a supportive team behind you and around you who have an understanding that everyone is equally important, and we are all needed to be there.
Indeed. And it's very pertinent as well that you've touched on there, but talking about the healers within our churches and centres, because many people, I always said with my character, being an evidential medium suits me, because I get that instant, up until last Thursday, I get that instant response of yes or no, whereas a healer continues to heal, trusting and in that working in that knowledge that healing is being given according to the needs. It may not be what we want to see, but healing is there also. But going a step slightly beyond that as well, and I agree wholeheartedly. You know, especially in the UK, our services have become very based on who the medium is, and then the trickle down effect from that is what people think of them. You know, are they Hollywood enough for some people, which is very sad in our movement. But also the congregation as well. I often say here at Poole, you know, this service today, you've not come to watch us on the platform. You've come to build this service, because every part of this service is built on the energies that you have brought into here. So each and every service is unique by that collaboration and cooperation between those present, be they working, be they giving off, be they receiving. It matters not. Each one is equally as important.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And then also, how do we welcoming people in this movement as well? How do we look into the need of people who are coming in and seeing us? Are we too busy to just sit down and having a word with the new people who are coming into the church or coming into the center? We might know the reasons why they are there, but just for us to be there and open up ourselves to just give them a word, or just see them and start to speak to them, that might do everything for them. And then you might have someone who show their interest in what you are doing and become a wonderful healer, or the best baker in the center as well. So and therefore everything started within yourself, and everything started with the first thought that you're taking when you're seeing people and when you're reaching out to the people. And then I'm not sure if that the right word is cooperation there, but it has to be where everyone is seen as well, and where we work together as one, because it's not helpful for anyone if we're working just as an individuals. I mean, we are individuals, but we also are a part of a bigger puzzle, the bigger life, where we are meant to work together, where we are meant to help and support each other.
Indeed. And cooperation is a very good word for that, because the building of the teams within our churches and centres, the inherent energy there is that cooperation between everybody. I'm very fortunate. I have a wonderful team of people who do what I call meet and greet. And they are there from the second the door opens. They'll give a smile, a welcome. They'll try and recognize, you know, if they know a name, use the name. If it's somebody they don't recognize, we'll ask that question. Is it your first time here? Bring them into the church, show them where the water is, show them where the toilet is. Maybe sit them with other people. We've got some wonderful people in the congregation who are more than happy for somebody new to come and sit with them, so they don't feel alone and isolated. But all of that is built on that cooperation, which comes from the top and goes right the way through every aspect that we do. We do see, sadly, in our movement, it's good to be individual. We've all got, you know, if you and I were working on the platform, our style of mediumship would be different.
Yeah.
But because we are unique, but we are doing the same work. Our presentation, our style, whatever. Those of you, I don't know, many out there have seen Frederick actually work, and I hold him very high esteem with his mediumship. It's absolutely superb. So I would never get on a platform with Frederick.
So where is the cooperation?
I'll be rooting for you from the back. Yeah, you go, Frederick.
But thank you for your kind words, Lauren. But also, if you see, since this pandemic came and we get used to using Zoom and all the internet facilities, I mean, most people have reached out to new connections as well, to new friends, people that you would never have met in real life, because it's the far distance between them. I mean, people who open the door for your kind of work, and also become friend with you, and you feel the connection with them is true and honest, and we're working from the same ground, and we are there to help and support each other. It also gives an opportunity to share demonstration together online, to work together and share experience, and bringing people to us as well, because when you open up, you're reaching different kind of people, and then they have the cooperation again, where you're reaching out and helping and supporting people who might not have been interested in this, but because of how you speaking, of how you're working, there is something that resonating with them, and then when you hear someone speaking philosophy, there's something in the words, something in the vibration who touch those who hear what you're saying. So when we add everything into this, we're seeing the bigger picture as well, and then we understand the importance of this, and also understand the importance of being who you are and share this energy with each and every one as well. So it is a cooperation all the time.
Indeed, indeed. And it's one of these areas, one of these energies that we maybe not acknowledge so much. But at this time, I mean, one of the big lessons of this time is the fact how deeply we are all linked, not just in our own communities, but much further afield as well. And it is by working in that area of cooperation, not going in to prove you're a better medium than somebody else, or I'm a better speaker than that person, or, you know, my God's bigger than your God, and all, you know, we're seeing through that this time. We're just seeing that, you know, the bond and the bringing together in the one cause, you know, to prove that evidence of the continuity of life in its many, many, many facets, and how that impacts us here today. I've seen some beautiful collaboration. I love, the other night I was very pleased to see Frederick and Stephen Trolland and
Louise
Minhart work together. And it was beautiful. It really was. The whole energy between everybody on there, even in this virtual arena. It was absolutely fantastic to see that happen and grow. Over the last 2 years, the people that have been so kind, coming on and giving their time to these programs coming out of culture. Again, the cooperation, you know, these things don't just happen. They start with an idea, an inspiration. The right name crops up. You start talking, you build that, and it culminates in this time together to share those ideas. And you really value that, and you really put that trust in people as well. I've got people. I have a huge list. I'm going to have to buy a camper van and just drive around the UK, Europe, and America to meet with all these wonderful people. We have a comment here from the lovely Phil Shaw. The aggregate energy of the congregation is absolutely paramount to the successful link between us as mediums and spirit. Having the antennae to connect with this energy determines the level of spiritual and physical amalgamation, and I would be much less able to work effectively and constructively without it. Very true, Phil. Very true.
Very true.
And this is something I think that we have maybe as a movement not acknowledged so much in the past. I am very much one for getting the congregation involved in spiritualism. You know, this is not a 5-minute show. This is not something to wow and amaze you, so next week you can come back and be wowed and amazed again. You know, if you're interested in spiritualism, present it in its different facets, and make people, not make, that sounds wrong, but give people that opportunity to understand that their presence is valuable. They are not a bystander. They are not an onlooker. They are part of this process. They are part of the gathering. Each service is that unique energy built on and provided by that cooperation. Spirit world will inspire people to be here. You know, I've often, well, I was at home and I suddenly thought, oh, I'll go to church today. All right. What about that came from then? But it's building on that bigger truth, that bigger knowledge, that without these understandings and acknowledgement of the cooperation that goes on, our movement would probably be a little bit lackluster, a little bit unprofessional, a little bit without the love, because so many people give of themselves just through the love, just through the joy of communion, be it like this virtually, be it in-house, even down to your own level, just sitting there yourself, sitting in the power, receiving that understanding. So beautiful. Thank you very much for that comment, Phil.
And today as well, you have so much opportunities to choose from. And when you're searching for something today, I mean, many people are very, very sensitive as well. And you go through lists and see, oh, where is there any development? Where is there any demonstrations or something to do with the spiritual today? There is a kind lady who do this on Facebook and posting the services and developments every day. And her name is Veronica Jenkins. And there you can see exactly where you feel drawn to go. And this wouldn't be possible without this wonderful IT technology, and where you can choose where you want to go and what you would like to do.
Indeed. Veronica
Yeah.
Jenkins. Sorry, Frederick.
Yeah, and when you're looking at this, there is always something who stands out, something that you can look forward to, something that you're nurturing your soul at this moment in time. Tomorrow might not be the right day to go there, but today, because there is something who will be said today that bringing you forward to your next step, and something where you can develop from as well.
Indeed, indeed. And for those of you who may not be aware, Veronica Jenkins runs a Facebook page, online spiritualist church services. Every day for the last 2 years, this lady has put together this enormous list of churches, who's on where, what time, links if available, and everything. And just done that. That is her mediumship. I mean, through Veronica's page, I'm sure every church that has been on there has benefited because of all those links being posted out there. And again, Veronica is not duty bound. She's not paid to do this. She does it because that is her mediumship. That is her cooperation between the two worlds to guide and inspire people. You know, the message is not always one about a close family relative. The message is we are one, we are linked, and through an understanding and unleashing that power of spirit within, there is nothing that we cannot achieve. And I think that is the most beautiful thought for spiritualism.
And I mean, if you see the mediumship and the spirituality as a school class, I mean, there's different classes, there's different topics for each and every one of us. And we are not meant to be best in any of it. We are meant to be good and continue to develop. And then we are meant to meet other people where we can help and provide with our knowledge and with our understanding, and allow them to grow, because the energy we're working with is not belonging to one person. And therefore, when you have a student and you're working with a teacher, why would you hold on your understanding and your knowledge to yourself? I mean, your understanding and your knowledge is there, and you have gathered it to be able to share it later on within your journey. And when you have an understanding of that, your own development and your own progression will go much faster and quicker as well. Because even if I would have been your student, Lawrence, and I put notice in everything that you were teaching and how you were teaching it, and I will say exactly the same thing as you do, it wouldn't be the same teaching as yourself anyway. So what I try to say is, we shouldn't keep all the understanding and the knowledge for ourselves. It's there to share it with other people and support them in their journey in the way we hopefully were supported ourselves.
And definitely, information and knowledge is not to be coveted and kept. It is to be shared and disseminated where it is appropriate. I love the cooperation, collaboration in the spirit teams. I became very much aware that my doorkeeper had changed rather abruptly, and I was like, why is this? And I approach it probably from that human side of going, when I said, why is this? The unsaid words were, who are you and what are you up to?
Yeah.
But being human, you never say that. You go, why is this? But the answer came straight back and said, at this time, you need this energy around you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's great. I love that. I absolutely love that my team have got my back up there. And they can see that a little bit clearer than we can, and just shift these energies around to suit the need, because you're doing the work. It's beautiful.
And then as you're giving of yourself to other people, then you're reaching, then you are supported and are receiving much more yourself as well.
Hugely.
Yeah. So with this cooperation, in the way we come across people, we see vulnerable people, and we might not understand their journey, but just being who we are also able to get their input of how to heal and how to support themselves, and finding the right person for the person in need, because we might not be able to help everyone that we see, and some people shouldn't have any consultations from a medium because they need to see a professional person. So therefore your network should including all kinds of people with a cooperation where there is no jealousy, where you actually have the support of each and every one as well. Because when you're finding the balance and really understand we are here to help and support each other, the negative ego won't be there, because it will be in positivity and love.
Yeah, I could not agree more there, Frederick. And also this this fellowship, this band of cooperation, needs to be, in my opinion, reflected much more deeply within our churches and centres. We tend to see here in the UK, by the way, people who are watching may not be aware of this. The UK has a great amount of spiritualist churches. If you were to travel abroad, Frederick, in Sweden, how many spiritualist churches are there?
I think, to be true and honest, I think we might have one. We have a few associations in Sweden, but we don't have any. We might have one real spiritualist church, but that's all.
Yeah. There's an example, everybody. You know, if you go into Europe, spiritualist churches are few and far between, even or non-existent whatsoever. In the UK, we have a huge plethora. Last week's guest, the lovely Arisha, was pointing out a geographical area on the south coast, the Torbay area, where you have 10 churches and centres in a very small area. And as we continue to emerge into this new post-COVID world, I think a message that's been very strong, and it is up to the churches and centres to listen to it or not, it is entirely up to them, is to start cooperating with each other and start, looking at things going, oh, well, okay, if you're going to focus on that side of it, then maybe we will shift our attention to another side of it. Or if you're going to put on a really big weekend that weekend, that's fine. We won't do anything other than the norm. And then we will have our weekend following that, because, this isn't a competition. And sadly, sometimes you do see it between churches, centres, associations. It turns into this contest, and it's like, I don't know who you're competing with, because you're not competing with us, but it's self-defeating. Again, as I say, the new energies that we're finding ourselves surrounded by at these times is that heavy message about we are all linked. Everybody is linked, no matter where they are in the world, no matter which world they're in. They are linked. And we need to acknowledge that. We need to embrace that and work with that, rather than they don't know what they're talking about. We're all going to get people in our life where you just think, do you know what? Actually, your energy and my energy at this time really are not compatible. And that's fine. God bless. But we need to leave this to togetherness alone at this time, and maybe who knows in the future. But yeah, Frederick.
Sorry. I totally agree with you, because I haven't seen all the churches in UK or Scotland. I've just seen a few of them, but most of the people who are sitting in the committees has been sitting there far too long and refused to giving up their spaces. And when they went into the committee themselves, it wasn't looking in the same way as it does now. And for the churches who have the younger generation of committee members, they will see it from a different perspective. They will see and understand the way you are talking about. But then when you have the elderly generation in the committee, they would refuse to work with other churches because they will see other churches as a competition. And many cities and many towns has both independent churches, Christian churches, and SNU churches, and there was people for each and every one of the churches. But now, after the COVID, the lacking of people, because people have still had the need to look for spiritualism, mediumship, so they have went online to see where they can find it in the best way. So when all this goes back, the churches fighting against something new. So therefore, what you bring up, Laura, is so important. There has to be the cooperation and collaboration between the churches to have an understanding of how to continue if they want to survive.
Yeah, and it is, as you quite rightly say, Frederick, it is as raw as that. We are talking about the survival of a lot of these churches and centres. A lot were forced to shut because lacking their own premises, they were at the will of landlords, and we fully get that. A lot of them were because the committee has shown up. See, this time has shown a lot of frailties in our systems everywhere, in our supply chains, in our governments, in our healthcare. But bringing it back into the spiritualist movement, the committees were, in the main, the preserve of elderly people. And this is not being disrespectful, anybody watching now or later. I'm not ever disrespectful. I fully get it, because our life was so busy to try and get younger people onto a committee, and things did prove difficult. But one of the frailties was where these committees had, sometimes, not in every case, sometimes though, committees of churches can build a wall of orthodoxy around them, and then it becomes so high they can't see out the other side. And that is sad, because spiritualism is about life. It's not about talking to the dead. It's about making sense of life today. And it's through that energy. It's an ongoing evolution of life. It keeps a pace. We have to keep a pace with life outside of the door. If we're ever going to be of appeal to the various generations in our own countries, we've got to have a difference of approach. We've got to have a difference of attitude. I'm not saying drop the standards by any means. We still keep the basic tenet of our standards there. The presentation may change. The way we work may change. But again, that energy does need to come from committees. And sometimes, everybody, I've been aware of committees near and far that actually become a little bit toxic, because you get somebody coming into a committee with new ideas and new freshness, and it's sort of like everybody rounds on them. You know, I would love to see a thing with committees that it becomes standard that you have somebody called a development manager or something like that on a committee, and their whole purpose is to look, source, and bring in fresh approach, new ideas, new things to happen within a church, and to be given a voice. That is very important, and to be given a voice, and to work with that cooperation from the rest of the committee, because otherwise things just stall.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And then if you see most of the churches, they're not thinking outside the box. They're not doing anything online, and they're not keeping their own congregation or their own audience even so if it's online. I totally get it and totally understand. Not everyone are comfortable to be on Zoom. Not everyone has a computer or even has internet, but there is always an opportunity. And if the churches would have development manager, they would have suggested, for example, to have a charity night for the church, collecting 5 or 6 of their regular mediums who are well known in the area, and ask them, please, would you like to do a charity event because the church needs money? And I can assure you, all the mediums who are comfortable to work on Zoom would have said yes.
Definitely. We have opportunities in this new world. Some of them, not every opportunity is going to appeal to everybody. There's a few things going on. I just think I'm not comfortable with that. But there are these opportunities, and as I say, and when we tap into that core energy of what we are about as spiritualists, it's about movement, it's about life, it's about expansion of knowledge, it's about expanding how we interact, not only with our church community, but the community in the area also. We are a very charitable church here, and we've worked tirelessly over the last 4 years having events to support ex-forces, breast cancer, an orphanage out in Brazil, and different things like that. And I'm not bragging here. To me, that's what religion, spiritualism, Christianity, whatever you want to, brand me as, it doesn't matter. I'm not fussed. But it's about working with other people. It's about offering that hand of assistance and that's the lesson I've got to learn, taking the hand of assistance. That is my lesson. I've still not learned it. I apologize. It is. And it's about, as the old Bible says, as you give, so shall you receive. And it is so true. It is so true.
Because if you can just help the church or someone else to give a messages or give of your time, that's a wonderful cooperation, and you're helping and supporting someone else, and that's a major part within mediumship and spirituality as well, because no matter where you meet people, it's always about healing and make someone else to feel better. And that's your cooperation with the spiritual as a medium or a healer, and then you should bring it on to the person you see.
Indeed. Little comment there from Christina. I believe it's in Stockholm. Correct me if I'm wrong, Christina. Due to Zoom, I can visit spiritualist churches in the UK, which is fantastic. And that is awesome. And I mean, if you look at the gathering energy, the snowball effect, which energy tends to accumulate, where we are making contact so much now with people all over Europe, hopefully that's going to bring in that groundswell energy of these people saying, well, why can't we have a church here? What do we need to do to have a church here? It's lovely to be able to switch on the TV or the computer or whatever and join in. I know lovely Jack, who's in the room today, has been a lot of work to get spiritualism recognized as a religion in Denmark, which will open the doors to be able to have churches using the title of churches. So hats off to Jack. But through this time, through this reaching out to people, it's been inspirational, both receiving inspiration from people and people getting that inspiration back from being able to join in this way in their beloved way of life, which is spiritualism. Yeah. Questions are very slow tonight.
Yeah, we speak too much, Lawrence.
I do. I'm sorry. Yeah. I do.
But
I live on my own.
Yeah. I mean, if I see it from my point of view here as well, I mean,
please.
I have been lucky and fortunate to have the opportunity to be in so many churches and working as well, and meeting so many lovely people, and also have the cooperation. I mean, I was in Wimbledon thanks to Phil, who is on tonight. Thanks to him, he invited me to Wimbledon in the lovely church, and it gave me such a new experience as well, where you're sitting in your own home, you're working with the real congregation in the church, and you're working online at the same time. It's just amazing how everything works together, and it's it's just so brilliant.
Yes,
And the same when you do all this charity events for all the places who need support and help.
indeed.
Yeah, it's just wonderful.
Yeah. And again, it's all based on that collaboration, that cooperation between people. I remember here when we were having the streaming put in, I had to learn sound patterns on microphones and things like that, and other people were inputting their parts of it. It was a huge effort, but we finally got there. And again, it's just on that cooperation. It's having those people to call upon. Is having that rapport with people as well, that that you can send a message, have you got time for a chat and do a quick video call. Lovely, again, I don't keep talking about him, the lovely Jack who's in the room today has been a huge support to me over the last couple of years, because I can go to him and just say, listen, this is bothering me, or I've had this, or what. And it's not about my development as a medium, it's about my development as a person. It's about my link with the spirit. I'm aware that I'm talking far too much, and I'm trying to stop. I do apologize.
Don't worry, it's lovely to listen to you and your experience, Laurie.
So if anybody out there has got any questions or any comments they'd like to make, please input them, because I thought the screen had frozen there. But yeah, as I say, as we now come out into and continue evolving, and of course different countries, even in the UK, Scotland, Ireland, Wales, England have got different restriction levels going on and everything. But as we all are slowly starting to re-emerge from this time, a little bit like the butterfly. That's what I'd like the energy to feel like, not getting back to normal, because to be quite honest, I don't want the old normal. There are aspects of the old normal that we're not comfortable.
Yeah, totally true. But no matter what, I think there will always be a need for the online services, the Zoom room and things like that. And when I started my spiritual journey, I started with the CSNUt, and that was quite funny, because it was on that time where you didn't have any camera. It was just a microphone. You hear the voice, and it was a wonderful way, because you really learned to trust the spirit world. You couldn't see who you're working with. It was just a voice, but then you were in tune to the spirit world, and you really need to trust. And then when you have worked from that base where you didn't saw people, it was just a boring room where everyone was logged into, and it was the host who put on the microphone. You weren't able to put on the microphone yourself. And then to see from that point to where we are today, it's just amazing. It's like day and night.
Very true. That must have been actually that must have been very interesting, because there is one of the little techniques that we can use in development circles for mediumship, where the trainee medium is either blindfold or back to the room, so they can't see who they're working with, to keep building that trust, that cooperation between yourself and the spirit world. But yeah, that's really interesting, just the voice. Because another spin-off of this time is the rise of podcasts as well. And we convert a lot of our talks, as we will tonight, over to a podcast format. And I was listening to a few the other day, and I thought, I get it. I understand now. We have the visuals tonight, which is lovely. It's always a pleasure to see your smiling face, Frederick. You know that.
Likewise.
And your wonderful piano.
Yeah. Don't ask me to play. People pay me to not play or sing. So.
However, with the podcast, because they are only audible, you actually take it in on a different level, which I found quite fascinating, that we have these talks and we get a lot out of it. But when we revisit them, just listening to the voice, we actually just go in that a little bit deeper into there. And some things really resonate much more vibrantly than they did maybe when you got audio visual, as we're working with now.
Yeah.
So very interesting.
And true and honest, Laurie, I think that's the same with everything who is on audio, because if you have a private sitting and you have the private sitting recorded, when you're listening to the private sitting, there's things who is said on the recording that you haven't heard the medium said, and then next time you listen to it, there will be something new who caught your interest, and so even if your private reading is only a half an hour, the intelligence of what has been said is what you need at this moment in time, is what you connecting to in the reading, and then a year after or half year after, you might feel the intention to listen to the reading again, because there is something new the spirit world wants to put your attention to. And this wouldn't be possible if it wasn't a recording. It's not about to see the other person or anything. It's just to hear the words and feeling the energy from the power of the words.
Very true. Very true. I did smile there, because you can tell the seasoned medium such as Frederick is, and he said just a half an hour private sitting, and then you come to a medium like myself and you think, half an hour? How am I going to feel that?
That's easy peasy.
Lovely Eva. Eva, good evening, my darling. You're such a wonderful lady. She's saying, I wouldn't have managed my developing without Zoom and all the church's events on Facebook, and I'm so thankful for all the lovely souls I've met so far. Well, I assume that Frederick and I are included in that, so thank you. But if not, I'll cut you off. Eva is an absolute delight. She's a lovely lady, and I've got a lot of time and respect for her, Eva. Phil
Thank you for your kind words, Phil.
Sorry?
I know I said thank you for the kind words, Phil.
Yeah. Phil Shaw just saying, we're delighted to welcome you at Wimbledon, Frederick, and participate in your lovely service. Unfortunately, our timing at Poole and Wimbledon coincide, and with all the best will in the world, I may not catch up, but I did catch up with your service. And as always, Frederick, wonderful.
Thank you.
So we're talking about cooperation. How are we going to build it?
So,
where
Lawrence,
riffs.
Lawrence, do you mind if I ask you questions?
Go on then.
How would you suggest people who are new into this area with mediumship or spirituality to develop and come together in the best way as a collaboration or when we work together?
Interesting. I'm not used to being put on the hot spot, but yes, absolutely. Very good question. It dependent on what area of their spirituality they want to understand. I think the first step always with any form of development, whatever field we're looking to develop in, is based more on that self-awareness, is finding out about you. I think that is a cornerstone in our movement, because we do, through online mediumship, televised mediumship, stage show mediumship, it can be misconstrued of, I want to do that because I want my 15 minutes of fame. We need to understand the fundamentals of what it's about, and going deeper again down on another level, I think we need to understand the fundamentals about ourselves, where we are, where we're coming from. And I mean, these can be achieved either on Zoom, as lovely Eva's just demonstrated. Her progression has gone on using Zoom, or within the churches and centres across the land, to start to develop first of all, looking into that self-awareness and getting that understanding of you and where you're coming from and what's going on with you. Because that is your foundation. Everything you do will be built on that ground. So I would advise anybody coming into this, be open to self-awareness, gaining that understanding of yourself, and gaining an understanding too of what spiritualism is about. To me, another huge aspect to spiritualism is that every time we work within this energy, we are acknowledging the presence of the divine, of the God force, the God, whatever your understanding is, but everything has come from that source. So it's starting to broaden out. So we start off with ourselves. That is our keystone. Then start to understand how we are with the spiritual world, our spiritual aspects, and build and build and build and build upon that. So it's a bit of a fulcrum moment, but I think very important. We see people coming into development circles, healing circles, who lack, and this is not a snobbery thing. This is not a I know more than you thing by any means, because every time I teach, I learn something, which I think is beautiful.
Yep. The same here.
Yeah. But yeah, it's finding out about us first and foremost, and it's not a selfish act whatsoever. It's fundamental in where we're going from here. And then, as I say, understanding the broader concepts of spiritualism, spirituality, understanding the different guises it comes under, understanding where they may fit in with your framework. I've met some beautiful, absolutely beautiful shamanic healers who won't go to a spiritualist church, which I think is a bit odd because you're working in the spirit realm, but that's fine. Mm-hmm. Absolutely fine. That's your path. That's where you want to go. That suits you, fits your energies. And the work is, it's always let people be known by their deeds, not by their words.
No, I totally agree with you. It has to start with ourselves, as we said before. So, and I can see Jason has brought something very interesting as well in the chat.
Yes, Jason. Hello, Jason. How are you? You've been commenting on the wrong stream. Have you kept your cat away from the computer, Jason? Do you not think the move to Zoom, which was led from the bottom of the movement upwards, is an excellent example of cooperation and modernization? Frederick, sir, you first.
Yeah, I would say so, because there is so much we have learned by doing this online and over Zoom and other platforms like StreamYard, as we are on tonight. So there has been a learning curve through this as well, and the cooperation between this and what we are doing on Zoom and on the online platform has just been amazing. But again, it has to start with yourself, and you have to understand the importance of the work you are doing, and also that you want to do it, and you're feeling the pull from the spirit world, who is there to help and support you, no matter on which platform you're working on.
Definitely. And a comment there, and I agree wholeheartedly again from Jason, is saying, also think Anne-Marie Bond and Nathan Paul and their assembly nights are an excellent example of modern spiritualism.
Yeah.
We had the lovely Anne-Marie Bond with us a little while back in celebration, because again, it's a new form of modern spiritualism. I like that phrase, Jason. I may use that. Thank you. But it's teaching us different aspects, that it is not come in, sit down, wait for a message, go home. Come in, sit down, wait for a message, go home. We want to engage with people, and we want the people to engage with each other and come together. And like every family, we have highs, yes, we have lows. Again, it's another facet of our development and understanding to handle these times. So great opportunities there. The lovely Jack. Oh, look out. This is for you, Frederick.
Yeah.
So, Frederick, when do you start to work for the recognition of spiritualism in Sweden? It is in Norway and probably soon in Denmark, and I believe that it could be a strong Nordic I believe that. Strong Nordic movement in coordination. You've been given your orders.
To be true and honest, Jack, I think spiritualism is already recognized as a religion in Sweden, but unfortunately, in Sweden, as in many other countries, we are not working together, and those associations working very much for themselves and preaching themselves for the highest and the good, and there is no cooperation in between them, which is pity and sad. Every one of them has their own understanding of the 7 principles, the basis of mediumship and spirituality, and they teach in their own way. So if you go to one weekend, you've been taught in one way, and then if you go to another one, you will be taught the opposite. So it's just a chaos, and just using the word religion in Sweden is just dramatic as well, due to what's happening around the world. And then when you're talking about religion in Sweden at this moment in time, people are to be true and honest to say, fed up with the negativity and war, and people behaving in a very, very bad way. So if people really truly believed in what religion is another word for love, because the true essence of religion is another topic to talk about, but the true essence of religion is love, and it's not in the way it's presented today, where people killing each other for who's believing in what. I mean, the most important is that you have a belief, not that you're killing each other. Because if we were meant to kill each other here, we would have been born with a gun or a pistol or something. So that's not the purpose. We are here to support and help each other, and then it doesn't matter what you call your God, which name you're using for God, because there is one, and there is one religion, and the one religion has different names. And that's my belief and my thought about it. And no matter what you believe, the core point of religion is about love.
Yeah, well answered, and it does bring into play yet another aspect of these times. We have, it is quite predominant here in the UK, the thing about religion and churches. When you start using those words, you can see people sort of like glaze over.
Yeah.
But to me, it is all about semantics. I go to various churches because I enjoy going there. And as simple as that. I go to various centres because I enjoy going there. I don't let the words put me off. I find out what they actually do behind the doors.
I need to answer Jack's second question here about, is it recognized with the 7 principles?
There we go.
Everyone understand and recognize the 7 principles in their own way, not as they done in UK. Of course, they understand it in different way, but they keep the main focus and the main core of the 7 principles. But here they translate the 7 principles into Swedish, and it's totally opposite meaning of it, and it's a very, very bad translated version of it. So it's not making sense.
Right. Yeah. Thank you, Jack. Thank you. I think we need to let go of the semantics of words, and let go of the positive and negative things that we can sometimes attach to certain words. But as I say, we should all be known by our deeds, not by our words, by our actions, not what we said. Christina, I would love to have more spiritualist churches in Sweden, spiritualist centres. There's not much prayer or singing, which I would think enhance the contact with the spirit world. Yeah, again, I, as a medium, prefer a divine service where we exercise all the aspects of spiritualism in that mediumship moment, with the philosophy, with the reading, with the prayer. Prayer is a very important part of the service, with the healing and with the evidential mediumship. They all combine to create that magical time together. So thank you, Christina. Jason, I am a huge believer in we can acknowledge the pioneers and founders of our movement and the great minds of the mid-20th century, but that's gone now. We need to aim big and look toward more modern movement with new pioneers. Oh, like yourself, Lawrence. Thank you, Jason. Like Veronica Jenkins, like Amory. Indeed, that's very much in my energy. Yes, we acknowledge the pioneers of the past, but the the pioneers today are going to be these people are going to be spoken about in 30 years. So yeah, revere them now and support and cooperate with them. Thank you, Jason. Frederick.
Yeah, I totally agree with what Jason said as well. It's very well said. So
yeah. Frederick, I do apologize. I feel like I've spoken over you all night. I am so sorry. I didn't mean to do that whatsoever. And apologies if that's how it's come over. You have been an absolute star as always. I absolutely love your energy. And I'm very looking forward to actually meeting up yet again in September down here at Poole, which will be beautiful.
Yeah.
Those of you who'd like to see Frederick working as a medium, he is on with the Glasgow Spiritualist Centre, I believe, tomorrow evening.
Glasgow Association of Spiritualists, yeah.
Yeah, so search that on Facebook and you can watch the sublime mediumship of Mr. Frederick Haglund. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for joining in with us tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you very much for having me here.
Oh, pleasure. Jack in the comments saying there, he says, I believe you could be a great ambassador. I know you already are. So how wonderful is that? Thank you, Jack.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us tonight. We will be having a Lyceum evening next week at 7 o'clock. The final details are yet to be arranged, but it will be on healing. So, yes, we need to bring the healing back into the fore as a big part of our movement. Catch up with us online anytime and look after yourselves. Stay safe, stay sane. Thank you for joining us, whether you're watching live now or listening or watching at a later date. Absolute pleasure as always. And we wish you a very good night and a very peaceful night. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone. Thank you very much.